Andrew Locke. I called him out on Twitter this past week as one of the best people in writing these tech blogs recently. I love his format. He just always nails it with these. So here he's talking about choosing a free port in ASP.NET Core 3. Talking about how the ports are selected. If you randomly want to pick a free port, you can just specify the port of 0, and then it'll, pick a one that's available. But then a little more interesting is how do you actually find out which port that was? So then he digs into that a little bit more, and looking at how you can go through and find that port. And you can dig it out through middleware.
We added a feature, a server feature collection, like we have request features back in 2 point something, I think. And so this was one of the reasons, was that you want code later on in the app to be able to discover what the server is listening on, because sometimes it's somewhat dynamic. And so this is showing how to do that. Grab the server addresses feature, and then you can enumerate all the addresses your server is configured to run on.
Cool. Yep. And then wrapping up with the summary here and just what we learned.
Is this also applicable with IIS?
Yes, I think because when you run in IIS, we basically replace the iServer implementation in the application, and I actually don't concretely know, but I'm going to say I have no reason to believe that we wouldn't flow the binding information from IIS through to your app and populate this collection. I believe it does. But anyone from the team is watching, they can let me know I'm full of it.
All right, Shahed he's doing an A through Z series again, and he's up to production tips. So this is kind of a nice, refresher on things to pay attention to for 3.1. Talking about things like deployment slots for managing staging and production. So that is a huge tip. Like if you're doing anything in Azure App Service, deployment slots is like first thing to check out. Environment configuration, handling migrations, including things like scripting out your migrations. So that's handy. Being able to script, to and from, and then output as a SQL script. And then some basic scalability, CI/CD, just, some general good stuff to be aware of, and then troubleshooting as well. There's guidance for some of this stuff in the docs, but it's always good to kind of see a walkthrough, and he links out to the docs as well at the end.
Cool.
Speaking, you mentioned IIS recently, and here's some scary stuff with IIS that David Fowler tweeted about as just an experiment here, is running ASP.NET and ASP.NET Core in the same IIS pipeline. I honestly, it is a module. It's an IIS module. Yep. And so here he sets that up. And then there's a little bit of stuff here. So the way that this is working is, let me see. There's some stuff in Global ASAX which runs after the routing module, and then yeah, honestly I'm a little scared of this. I don't totally know what it's doing.
It shouldn't be scary for anyone who's ever done IIS handler and module mapping. Anyone who's ever done dynamic handler mapping in IIS via code, this is pretty standard. You have to understand the order in which things are registered and in which they execute in order to be able to write code that does it at the right time. Mm-hmm. But as you said, like ASP.NET Core is implemented in IIS as a module. And so it's just that typically it's added as a wildcard module. So it takes over the entire pipeline, right? Whereas what you notice here is the handler, after the handler section, he's got the ASP.NET Core section. Typically, that would be mapped. The ASP.NET Core one would be mapped with it's got add name equals ASP.NET Core above that, and path equals star, which means I can do everything, and then verb equals star above that. Yep. And so the order you put them in there is important. So the fact that the extensionless URL handler is first at star dot means that it's going to get first chance to handle any requests. Yeah. Now, typically that means if it doesn't, though, it'll be terminal, and then you'll just get a 404. By adding the code, as I understand it, you can then basically say, okay, well, that didn't do anything. Let me add some code to forward this request, remap the handler over to the ASP.NET Core one, and then give it a shot. Okay.
Gotcha.
And you can add code in there to make it hard-coded based on whatever route you want, for example. So some useful examples of doing this might be, hey, you've got an API and you've got versions for your API in the URL. wouldn't it be great if V1 of your API just all went to MVC or Web API, and then you could just have a small piece of code that said, if it's V2 or above, remap it to ASP.NET Core. And that's exactly what this type of thing will enable you to do, all in the same IIS site. You don't have to worry about a separate site that's doing all reverse proxying or anything like that.
Nice. Cool. And then there are some limitations he points out in here that it's, will probably work, although maybe not officially supported. And then some issues, diagnostics and communications can work if you use COM or other interop. That's interesting.
Oh, if you want to communicate between the runtimes.
Yeah.
Because you've now got two runtimes potentially running in the same app pool or all that type of stuff. So.
Right. Cool. All right, two more here. Rico, who also worked with Swagger.
Good morning. How's everyone doing today? Thanks for coming along. Today I'll be continuing on this same project that we've been on for the past few weeks, but setting it up on CI/CD and DevOps using Azure DevOps. Good morning, Tarisag. Sorry if I'm not getting that right. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in. So, that project we're working on, watch and communicate, it's midnight. Sorry to get you so late at night, but it's always going to be late somewhere. So, the app we've been working on for the past few weeks, this meetup app for our Melbourne Xamarin and Blazor meetup. So we've got just a list of the presenters who've presented recently there. Go into each presenter, kind of got their name, Twitter handle, YouTube channel, GitHub repo, etc. And we'll be expanding that so that it's got list of presentations and links to a few more things. It's app for Blazor, Android, iOS, and potentially a bunch more places in future. It's a quick recap if anyone hasn't been here for the previous streams. We've got our melbournemodernapps.core project. Here we put the code that gets shared amongst everything. So that's web, mobile, and server. Then we've got this Melbourne Modern Apps project. That's kind of the forms project. So this has the UI for all of our mobile apps. Android project and the iOS project both have very little code in them. They're just kind of header projects that will run that forms project. And then we've got a Blazor WebAssembly project. And just like the forms project, it's basically just UI, but this time it's for the web-specific stuff. And it's got references to all that shared code in the core project. So you can see here, that's what it looks like on Android. That's not it. Oh no. Thank you, Tarasag. I forgot to change monitors. Sorry. Change over to my screen. Okay. Sorry about that. So what I was showing was the core project has all the shared code. This project has all the Xamarin Forms code. And the Blazor WASM has all the web-specific code. We've got it running on Android using Visor. I'm connected to my Samsung tablet. Here it is in the iOS simulator. And here it is running in the web using Blazor. But so far, I'm the only one who can use it. Other than if you went to GitHub and found the project, it's all open source. You can download it, deploy it yourself, and pull requests are welcome. But we want to get it up online so that other people can use it and set up ad hoc distribution through App Center to send it out to kind of beta testers via email. And that's kind of also setting up part of on the way for if we were to deploy it to the App Center. Sorry, to the App Store. So the scary part of today's stream is I'll be messing around with Apple certificates and Devops keys and stuff like that a lot. I'm going to try my hardest not to give away any of my passwords live on stream, but there's a reasonable chance they'll show up at some point. Please don't steal them. So I'll be starting off in Azure Devops. And I'm going to make a new organization for this. Melbourne, Xamarin, Blazor, Meetup. Australia East City, that's close enough for me. Gonna make a new project in here called Meetup app. It'll be public, so anyone can come in here and take a look at how I've set up my DevOps pipelines. Now, if we look, so in Azure DevOps, you can host your code in here if you want, but I've got mine all hosted on GitHub. But even if it's hosted on GitHub, you can still do your build and distribute through here. So I'm going to say create pipeline. And if I go GitHub YAML. And here it is, Melbourne Modern Apps. Just going to take this off. Oh, Hang on. How do I do it? Here we go. Secrets. Sorry, just getting the password and I'll be back in just a moment. Cool, so this has taken me into GitHub and I am authorizing Azure pipelines to access my repository. It's suggested the one it's meant to have, and it's also showing the other ones there that I've already authorized. Approve and install. Takes me back to Devops. Have to sign in again for some reason. It'll load up in just a sec. What sort of dev are you into? Terrasag? Xamarin? Blazor? Something else? Cool. Now it's asking me what kind of pipeline I want to start with. This question really confuses me because it says ASP.NET. Then there's ASP.NET Care, which is .NET Framework. First one I'm going to build is the WebAssembly one, which there isn't really a template for, but I'm just going to start with an empty project and write it from scratch. So we're saying build whenever you push to master. I'm going to use a Windows latest as the type of machine it runs on. And when I say writing it from scratch, I will actually be referring to another pipeline that I've done for a different project a bit. So I can't actually write all of this and make it up live. I am referring to documents. But once we've done this, this will be public, so you'll be able to come back and check on this anytime you like. So that'll be a dumb hello world script, and then another one that just echoes out. And then we're going to want a .NET Core task. So if we go show assistant, everything we're doing here ends up as YAML, but you don't have to write all of it by hand. So I'm going to say .NET Core build path to my project. We put it in Melbourne modern apps dot Blazor WASM. Is that how I spelt it? Melbourne modern apps dot Blazor capital W lowercase ASM. And then slash, and then that same thing again. Dot CSPROJ. And we're going to get some arguments. We're going to say the configuration will use a variable called build configuration. We'll give it an output folder with a -O flag. And put it in /publish so that once it builds and when we need to upload it afterwards, we know where to find it. So we've got the projects, that build configuration variable we haven't declared yet. So let's put it up here. variables, build configuration is going to be release. That should be enough to build it. And then we need to upload it to Azure, which we do with our task. Oh no, actually, we can get one from here. An Azure file copy. My source is going to be in that publish folder we just said was where we'd build to. Publish / burn notification. No. Melbourne modern apps dot Blazor WASM, and it's all going to be in the www root. That's where it gets published to. And hook it up to my Azure subscription, which I have to authorize. So because this is WebAssembly, it can all be hosted on just static file storage. Doesn't need a full-on app service or IIS or anything like that behind it, which means it's very cheap to run because you're just paying for storage, not compute, because all the processing happens in the browser. This authorizing spinners. Good, that got through. To an Azure blob. Storage account. I haven't made one yet. Over in Azure, gonna create a new resource for storage. Storage account. On that same page, you go subscription resource group. I'll make a new one called Melbourne Xamarin Blazor Meetup. Melbourne Xamarin Blazor Meetup. Storage account name will be the same. Oh, maybe something a bit shorter. Melbourne Xamarin Blazor. That'll do. Yep, not taken. Australia Southeast. Good. Standard. Storage V2 general purpose. Good. And I'm gonna go for the cheapest one, which just has locally redundant storage, which means if the data center does get hit by a flood or something, my data's gone. But I think I'm okay with that. Review and create. The other option there was you could do a geo-replicated storage or even geo-replicated. So there's geo-replicated backup, which just makes sure your data is safe everywhere, or the more expensive one is kind of geo-replicated and access so that you can read to it really quickly from lots of data centers. But I don't think we need that for this. That's just spinning that up. While it loads, I'm gonna click add on this. And so with any of these YAML tasks, good morning, Kim. It's a DevOps kind of day here today. So all the projects we were working on last time, iOS, Android, Blazor, all going up to Azure or being distributed with App Center. And then one stream soon, either on yours or mine, we can do all the same stuff once you've got your weekly Xamarin app up and running. So I've just configured my storage in Azure. Container name. That's the other thing I have to do. In here, in my blob storage, I need to go to the settings for static website and enable that. And strangely enough, I'm going to make the error document path and the index document name, both of them index.html. Because this is a single page app, and instead of having a separate URL that the server will handle errors on or handle your homepage on, in that single page app as part of Blazor, whether it's success or fail, it all just goes to that one page and then Blazor handles it within that. So we're now set up for static file storage. In our Storage Explorer, we'll be able to see it's created a blob container called $web. And in that static website, that will be the address for our website until I buy a better domain name. So right now, I'll probably see some kind of error page. Yep, that's cool. Back in Devops, connected to that storage account, and now I'm going to say $web as a container name. Blob prefix shouldn't need anything, I don't think. Optional arguments, nope. Cool. So, looking through these tasks, you can see that first one there was called .NET Core CLI at 2. That's the second version of the .NET Core task that you can run in DevOps. And then Azure File Copy, they're up to version 4. Only the latest version is available from this list. And we're going to try running it with 4, but last time I tried running 4, it failed. And then when I changed it back to 3, it worked. But I'm going to give it another shot and see if it works. And if not, I'll try 3 and see if that fixes it. That should be enough to build our WebAssembly app. Publish to Azure. Save and run. Actually, before I commit, so this is just going to create a file in my Git repo with the YAML extension. I'm going to have multiple pipelines because I've got a few different targets. So I'm going to call this one WASM Azure Pipelines. And then after this, we'll be making one for iOS, one for Android, and one for our functions as well. That has committed that YAML file straight onto my master branch. You can do a make a branch, do a git flow thing. Make a branch and then do the pull request or whatever later. But I've just committed straight to master there. Looking at this, I think I forgot to merge in my Stream 3 features last time. So I'm going to make a pull request now as well. From Stream 3, so that's last week's stuff, into master, create a pull request. Haven't written any unit tests yet, so that should merge, no conflicts. And I'll hit merge pull request, confirm merge. What have you been up to, Kim? Anything exciting? Pipeline needs permission to access resource. Permit. Permit. Mission granted. But I don't think it'll run. I think I need to trigger that again. But I also did just commit again, so maybe that one will run. Homeschooling the kids. And the monkeys. GitHub Actions, Kim's asking about. No, never touched them. All the stuff I've done has been Azure DevOps or Visual Studio App Center, and App Center is kind of built on top of DevOps anyway. GitHub Actions sounds like it does similar stuff. But yeah, nope. I'm all in on Azure DevOps. I'll give it a go at some point, probably. Yeah, kind of interesting how Microsoft have those, well, even though Microsoft own GitHub now, they're still kind of letting it run its own thing and building the two products kind of in parallel. But they do integrate together quite nicely. So even though I've got my code on GitHub, I can do all my build stuff in Azure DevOps. I think probably their main reason for keeping the two running. There we go. Azure file copy failed. And it says error uploading to container web. Something like could not find that storage name. Now I'm gonna test a theory by rerunning that. Nope. Edit that. I want to see if I use the old version of Azure file copy. Now we haven't got that settings thing popped up there. Maybe that means I have to write it all by hand. But I think it should have basically all the same parameters. Maybe after I save it once and open it again, the settings will open up, or maybe old tasks do have to be written hand. Anyway, I'm going to save that. Commit straight to master. Good morning, Dan. How you doing? Today is DevOps Day. So, first up, I've just written this YAML file to deploy my the Blazor WebAssembly website we've been working on up to Azure Storage to run it as a static website. Then we'll be moving on to iOS and Android, and then functions. How far we get will depend on how smoothly things go. Evening here in the UK. Is it midnight there as well? I think Tarasig said they were from the UK as well. Sorry to keep you up so late. Our first attempt at running this failed with the Azure file copy version 4, but with 3, my bet is it's going to work. So for the WebAssembly and the functions, the builds run super quick. But when we get to the Android and iOS stuff, the builds will probably take around 5 minutes each. So we're not going to sit around and watch the builds run for that. We'll find something else to work on while each of them run. So build success. File copy failed again. Error parsing source location. Publish / Melbourne Modern Apps dot blazorwasm / www root. Compare that path. We've got Melbourne Modern Apps dot blazorwasm. Spelt publish correctly. Let's go take a look at that pipeline again. Good morning, Rod. How you doing? I'm writing YAML live, and as you may have guessed, it's not going all that smoothly. So I've got a build task that looks at there. and publishes to ./publish. That's fine. Then my source path, the Azure file copy, is publish / Melbourne Modern Apps .Blazor wasm / www.root, which is where I expect it will be. Container name. So I think those 3 bits are right, because I think it said it couldn't find the files. I'm going to take another look at that log. In this job, build, find, file copy fails. Error parsing source location. Cool. I'm going to do the DevOps equivalent of console.log. So if I write a script, I can just write a bash script, and with the pipe, I can do it in line. I'm just going to do a pwd and then an ls-r. So that'll show me where I am now and then every folder that exists. So I'll end up with a really big, long build script. But something wrong in my YAML. Does it want one more space? Invalid YAML structure. No quick fixes available. Anyone good at writing YAML? Anyone know what's wrong here? Ah, I forgot a dash there to say it's a task. It looks like... There we go. Seems to be valid now. I'm going to save that and run again. One last check. Can anyone see my typo? No. This should put in my build logs all the files I've got, and I'll be able to see where it is. I go back to my pipeline. Let's see. Oh, I already had that one up there. That's all right. In my pipelines. Ah, this is a build task, not a publish task. So I had it building, but not publishing. Now, publish web projects, no, I don't want to happen, because what it thinks are web projects is a bit different to what I think are web projects. I want it to just build the one I tell it to do. There's my thing. No, I don't want it to zip. I just want to upload the raw files. Yes, put the project's folder path. Okay. That'll be our fix, I reckon. Because when we look at that command line, if I search this for www root, We've got one just in like the file structure, but none of them are in that publish folder. Alrighty. Got a good feeling about this. 1, 2, 3. Fourth time lucky. Thought I'd start with the WebAssembly one first before moving into Android and iOS, because this is the easier one. No signing or anything, just put a file on a website and people can run it. While we let that run, show you where that ends up. If anyone's wanting to do something similar, that's just at the root directory. I've got my WASM Azure pipelines YAML. Here we go. Got some warnings in my build. There we go. It's green. All green. Happy. Give it a refresh. Here we go. Loading. Problem with WebAssembly is it's got to download a few files on first load, but after that, it'll be super quick. Wonder if we've got some errors. Didn't expect it to take quite this long. Ah, here we go. Let's look at just how big that was. I was too slow getting the network tab open, so I didn't get to see the full request. But that's online, which is what we want. Now I do have at the moment just a like 500 millisecond fake loading there, which is why it's taking a while to load in, because that would generally be an API call, or, well, to our Azure functions where we've got something behind it, but at the moment it's just all in memory. Everything seems to be working nicely. Excellent. Pipeline 1 of 4 done. Now time to make another one. Let's do iOS next. So in my pipelines, I'll say new pipeline. Oh, before I do that, I'm going to rename this one, because they'll all end up with the same name and it'll be hard to know which one's which. That's not where I meant to click. Rename. WASM. Melbourne Modern Apps. New pipeline. Once again, GitHub YAML. And same repo. There is a template for this, but I'm probably going to change a fair few things in it. Cool. So that's triggered to run off master. Actually, that reminds me what I want to do. Because not all commits are relevant to all pipelines. So for example, if I've just done some WebAssembly stuff but haven't touched the iOS stuff or any of the shared code, I don't want to build the WebAssembly version every time. Oh, sorry. I was editing WebAssembly. I don't want to build and distribute, let's say, the App Store every time I make a change in a CSS file that's only on the web. So I'm going to change my triggers. So instead of being on master, there you go. Tell it which branches to use. So the way I like to set up my releases is just all based off Git. So whenever anything is merged into release, it'll do its thing, rather than using the full-on release structure and pipelines. I think this is kind of all right for small teams, but I think once you get to a bigger thing with more complex QA scenarios and stuff like that, I want to get into using the proper releases workflow, where different people can trigger and approve different things. But I'm happy with this for now until I learn how to use the releases structure. So that's committed that straight to master, but shouldn't have triggered a build because we're not on that branch. Back to this one. macOS latest is a good place to build an iOS app. Let's see, is it giving us a variable? Let's steal that same variable release from before. Actually, probably makes sense to put that before we start. We're gonna have the NuGet task. NuGet installer, good. NuGet command to restore solution, cool. And then we've got a Xamarin iOS task, but that's gonna build the whole solution, which I don't want. It's fine if all you've got in there is a Xamarin iOS project, but we've got a lot of stuff. So we need to point it to our CS_proj file, which will be something like... Is it just in Melbourne modern apps .ios/ and then I think we can still star.cs_proj. So anything within that iOS folder, build it the CS_proj. Actually, that's making life harder than it needs to be. I can stick with */ and then I'll do a *ios.csproj because we've only got one iOS project. That looks good. Configuration release. Create app package, yes. Build for iOS simulator, no. This is going to be device build. Signing and provisioning is going to be the fun stuff. So we'll add this task, but we need to get a certificate and also a provisioning profile. Just going to click add for now. Before we can do this, we need a provisioning profile. Let's take that back to there. Don't need that anymore. Don't need that anymore. Apple certificates live on stream. What could possibly go wrong? I want a new app ID. will be Melbourne, Xamarin, Blazor, Meetup app. Rod and Kim both in the stream. We've been going back and forth a bit on what we're calling our meetup. So throughout this project, I've used all of the names just to confuse everyone. I'm just going to call it Melbourne Meetup in my bundle ID. Yeah, there we go. I do that here. Can't get it wrong. Explicit. None of the fancy entitlements. Register that. So we've got an identifier. Now we need a profile for ad hoc distribution. Melbourne Meetup. Using my Xcode 11 distribution certificate, not my old iOS distribution certificate. Oh look, there's Rod's iPhone. Provisioning profile will be Melbourne Meetup ad hoc. Generate and download. Now that I've got that file, keep this YAML file open, but in our another Devops tab. I need to upload it to my library, which is where we can put, it's kind of like a mini key vault just for your pipelines, where you can put certificates, passwords, that sort of stuff. I'll upload a secure file. Copy that name across. And in my tasks, there'll be an install Apple provisioning profile, which is in my secure files. Good. There's the provisioning profile name. Add. That might work. And the other thing we'll need is the certificate. So in my certificates, you can see a lot of things, although it's tiny, tiny. And I don't think I'm exposing anything secret by showing this. If I go Apple distribution, Lachlan Gordon. So that's my original certificate signing request. And that's the certificate from Apple. If I export these two items and call it Melbourne meetup.p12. Desktop will do. I'm going to do this password off screen, even though it will show stars. Password Assistant just showed its suggestion live on stream. Excellent. Got my password in there. Ooh. No, I don't. I pasted in my mobile provisioning profile name. There we go. Now I've got a real one. Excellent password. Now I can upload another secure file. Secure files. Add a new one from my desktop. Okay. I'm in my variable group. I'm gonna make a new variable group. This is where I can put passwords and stuff for Melbourne Meetup app. Allow access to all pipelines, yes. And I'll add a new one called my P12 password. And as long as it's wide enough, if I lock that, I can paste it in and you can't see it. That makes me happy. Save that. Now we've got a certificate password. Back in my pipeline for my, that was a provisioning profile. Now we need a certificate as well. Apple certificate, P12. Was in the library, secure files. That's its name. The password has the variable name. P12 password. Add. And one extra step, and this is a weird one. We need to give this YAML file access to that variable group. There needs to be, there's a trigger button around somewhere. Anyone see the word trigger or settings? I think I have to, you go into variables. No. I think I have to save it and run it and let it fail once before I can do the next step. Let's set up a few more steps as well. So we've done our install provisioning profile, install certificate, even though I know that'll fail the first time. And also it's a variable, so we put it in a dollar bracket. But that's fine. That's fine. That should be good. Now we'll do an app center distribute task. Oh, you know what? Let's let it fail first. Save and run. Set up CI with Azure pipelines for iOS. Variables not set up yet. Straight to master. Cool. Okay, we need access to resources before I can run. Yes, you can access both my secure files. Now, if we come back into this pipeline and edit it, click on the three dots and go into not settings, but triggers. So the first page of this triggers is about setting whether this is built when you do a pull request or commit to master, whatever like that. But the page actually does nothing unless you click override YAML, because I'm configuring all that just in my YAML file. Then there's another tab called variables, which is what I want, and variable groups. Link a variable group, Melbourne Meetup app, link. And now I can save that. Added access to variable group. That's saved. I go back to my pipeline. Cool, so that one failed. Let's check that it failed why we thought it failed. Cool, so it got the provisioning profile fine. It failed to get the certificate. So even though we put it as a step a fair bit down the list, it creates a pre-job install the app certificate and a post-job uninstall it, which means that because it failed, it didn't bother trying to do a build because it knew it wouldn't be able to get past the next step. So that's nice that it didn't waste those build minutes. But now that we've enabled that variable, let's try running it again. I'm gonna leave this pipeline running over here. We can keep an eye on it while we set up our app center. I'm gonna make a new organization called Melbourne Xamarin Blazor Meetup. And I'm gonna make a new app called Melbourne Meetup app. Release, I'll say, will be production. Well, I don't think that question actually does anything. Made in Xamarin for iOS. And go down to build. I'm going to say, oh no, I don't need to do a build here. All I had to do was set up this app so that I can have what they call an app slug. Where did I leave that pipeline? Still failed to run. Read bio. Invalid password. Could be two things. I might have made the password wrong, or I might have set up the variable wrong. Let's see what we've got. In the library, my variable group, got a thing called P12 password. Which I may or may not be able to find. How's everyone going in the chat? Have you got anything cool going on? Rob says the music went loud and you can't hear me. Has that fixed it, Rod? Can you hear me again? And is the music more palatable? Or did you not have any music at all in the previous scene? Good at lip reading that. Okay, Rod, what was I saying? Pretty sure I've got you back to hearing me again. No, you can't hear me. Is that a trick question? I don't know which question you're answering. I'll go back here where I know you can hear me. Okay, so you should just be seeing me again now. We've got my face, and you can hear me a lot, and just a little bit of music, I hope. And then when I go over to my secret screen, you should be able to... Cool. I think I've made this more complicated than it needs to be. Music is still loud. We just got... Is music gone completely now? Rod doesn't like music. It's a bit mean of him. Gone. Okay, I think I might have turned it back up just a little, and hopefully you can get both me and just a little bit of music. Okay. Back to fumbling with passwords. Music isn't playing. First it's too loud, then it's too quiet. Settings. Output. All right. Maybe that's made some progress. Maybe not. Let me know how we're going. Problem is that once I change something, it takes a while for that feedback, well, not audio feedback, for you to tell me whether I fixed it or not. I think when I exported my password, even though I tried to make a good password, I ended up making the password something like Melbourne Meetup .provisioning profile. I'm going to try that again and do it just the same, but I'm going to have the password visible and off screen. Music is good. Excellent. Okay, back in my library. And I promise you'll see my screen again any second now. But for now, I'm keeping it secret. Okay. I made a new password there now. Kept it secret, but I think it's the right one now. And then, because I've also made a new secure file, because I don't know what the password is for that P12, I'm gonna upload another one that I've just generated. Meetup2.p12 is a new secure file. And in that same group, we've got P12 password 2. Back to our YAML. Oh, that's a scary question. I wonder what it thought I was working on. Cool. Install certificate. P12 password 2. So I can see that library. Whenever I'm working in Devops, I end up with so many windows open. In my library, my secure file is called Meetup P12, Meetup2 P12. And in my Melbourne Meetup variable group, I've got P12 password 2. And let's just check again in that triggers. And let's say that's can't check triggers without closing my YAML. That's all right. I reckon we can do it over here. I go edit. And I look at my triggers and the variables, variable group. Yes, we've got access to that, which has 2 passwords in it. One of them's P12 password 2. Good, good. That's all looking pretty good. Let's try again. I'm not following good Git flow practices today, just everything straight to master. Permission needed. Commit. Commit. Is that one gonna run now? I'm not sure if it is or it isn't. It says it's queued. Here we go, starting job. Cool. Installing the nougats. Yes, we installed the certificate and the profile. That's looking good. We're onto something. While that happens, so what this will do... did we set up... Okay, cool. That'll build and fail. Oh no, it'll build and succeed, but it won't do anything. Now we need to set up our App Center distribute, which we started looking at before. So, App Center service connection. No results found. Where do we set that up? Maybe project settings. There's pipelines. Service connections. Here we go. We've got a GitHub one there, but we need a new one for App Center. Visual Studio App Center. URLs there. Token. I go to my settings. This is up at the account level settings. And I go API tokens. I say new API token. This will be a full access meetup app distribute. Yep. And if I get clever with my secrets, yeah, I'm gonna hide this again. Hopefully the audio has stayed right and you can still see me. So I just clicked add new API token down the bottom. And then a little pop-up comes up with my new API token. And if I've done this right, you can now see what the screen looks like, except for the token. I'm going to copy that and close it. Now we can go back to working on the right monitor. We've got our token there, which we can now set up the service connection with. Service connection name, call it Meetup App Center. Grant permission to all pipelines, sure. Cool. Now, when we go back to our pipeline, our Xamarin iOS failed to build. Let's see what's wrong with it. I think I know what it is. I reckon the bundle ID is wrong. Because I made one up in the presenter ID and I'd made one up when I built the app, but I don't think I made them the same. Build failed. Process failed. Fail code for guidance. No valid iOS code signing key. Yep, there'll be different bundle IDs. That's all right. We can fix that. Let's do that in Visual Studio. In my iOS apps info.p list. What uncommitted changes do I have? I think that's just done a white space change. Hate that. But we need to pull down the latest master code before we can commit from here. Do a pull. And back in one of our web browsers. We've got our certificates. We downloaded our provisioning profile before. In our identifiers, we called it this one here. but in our source code, we called it that. Save that. Updated bundle ID. Sorry about the white space changes. Let's check that it has done it properly. CF bundle identifier, Melbourne meetup. Cool. That ought to trigger. Oh no. Get credential manager. Not a command. My git auth's gone wonky again. Push to master. Oh no. Didn't really want to fix Git credential problems live on stream. Let's see what I can fix. I had everything set up really well with my Git until recently, and some repos moved from one organization to another, and since then everything's been chaos. I can't fix this really quickly. I'm gonna skip over it because it's not much fun to watch. Alright, let's set the bundle ID somewhere else. Let's just do it in the GitHub browser. Cool. Open button apps, iOS, info.plist, edit, fix that bundle ID, change to correct bundle ID for signing. That should trigger another build. I clicked on the wrong spot there and went to the commit. Cool. I'll let that run. And we can go back to what we keep trying to set up, which is the App Center distribute task. A few more pieces should have fallen into place by now. App Center distribute. App slug. We go back to our app. If you've got an app made in an organization, which I do, Melbourne Xamarin Blazor meetup, it'll be organization name / app name. If you've got a personal app, it'll be user ID / organization. Binary file path. I think that's asking where have we put the IPA. which is going to be something like Xamarin. That's not going to be right. It'll be Melbourne Modern Apps slash Melbourne Modern Apps dot iOS slash is that where it will be, or will it be in a published directory? In our build task, we haven't specified an output directory. That's fine. Looking for our IPA path. We can just do **/star dot IPA because it'll be the only IPA anyway. Build version, I'll just leave blank. Now I'm just going to do some pretty boring release notes. Melbourne Modern Apps. Oh, Modern App. Although later on I want to look into using a file from our GitHub repo so that you can keep in version control where your release notes are. Cool. Groups, I'm going to say distribute to the default group, which should just be me basically. By leaving that one blank. So yes, go to groups, not the store. Destination ID will be nothing. Apple symbols. Cool. That should distribute it. Build still failed. Build failed. No valid iOS code signing keys found in keychain. To request a code. Yeah, we've done that. Made the provisioning profile for that certificate. Certificate thing. I'm a bit worried now because I don't know what to do next. Thought I had it all worked out properly this time. Anyone good with certificates? Anyone spot what I've done wrong? Let's take a look at our library. Secure file. Maybe I've used the wrong certificate for that. Might have put a different certificate in the P12 to what I did in the mobile provision. Let's see. I used the Lachlan Gordon Apple distribution that expires 9th of October 2020 there in my provisioning profile. What have we got? Profiles. Melbourne Meetup ad hoc. Certificate. RFID. Certificate Users expires October 8, 2020. That's what I said over there as well. 9th of October 2020. Wonder if they're actually different certificates or if it's a time zone thing. Oh yeah, that says 9th of October up there. Melbourne Modern Meetup app. Ad hoc. App ID. Looks good. Certificate password was correct. What next? So the info P list now matches. Where's the first place it says error? No valid iOS code signing keys found. Keychain. Code signing certificates. Yep. If I don't get this real quick, I might need to think about coming back and looking at it offline, because everything there looks just fine. All right, I'm gonna say we failed for iOS for today, but give Android a go. New pipeline. Go to GitHub YAML once again. And use the same repo. But a Xamarin Android template this time. Android ad hoc burn notification. And Trigger will leave as master. Mac OS latest will be fine for a Xamarin Android build. Restore is good. Yeah, build the only Droid project should be fine. Output directory. What's it got for that variable? So it said put it there. That looks like a good spot to build to. Now we're going to need to add a signing step. Android signing. Let's go. Yeah, the only APK you can find should be good. Sign the APK. We're going to need to find a key store file. So I'll manage that in Visual Studio. Right, click on my Android project. Archive the publishing. And put that to a release configuration. So I'm not actually going to publish an archive from here, but the easiest way to get an Android key store is to do a publish here. which does mean it has to do a release Android build here first. Let's leave that a moment. Over here, we're going to need a password variable for this, so we're going to need the library as well. There. And okay, that's our Apple one. We didn't make any changes in that. Let's rename this before we get confused. Call that iOS. Cool. What I can do now, before we commit to master too many times and run too many builds, let's do the same sort of thing that we did in our WebAssembly one, to only build it on certain branches. Say only build my iOS if it's got release/iOS in the branch name. Save that and it won't build. Cool. Good. My packaging is finished. I'm gonna sign and distribute for ad hoc. I'm gonna generate a new signing key. Alias will be meetup. Password, I will not say out loud. Generating over here where you can't see. So I've got an alias called meetup. I've got a password. That's enough information for there. Cool. And now this has put that somewhere on my drive. That's going to be in library, developer, Xamarin, key store, one for each app, which we called meetup. We've got a key store file, so we can upload that to our secure storage now. So that's all we wanted out of Visual Studio's publish process. Create another secure file. And another variable. Need a key store password. Oh no, this is a variable group. No, we can just use the same variable group. Open meetup app. We've got our P12 password and P12 password 2. And now we're gonna, that's our name for it. Meetup password and hiding the key from you. I'll save that. There's our variable name, because we're going to need that in a sec. Back in our YAML, get out of the WASM one, and into, where did we put that Android? I've lost it. Ah, here it is. Android ad hoc for notification in the signing step. We've now got, no, it's a different one. Starting to think it was a bit ambitious trying to do Azure Devops live on Twitch, which I kind of already thought it would be, but someone's got to do it. I thought I had the Android one in process, but I think I accidentally left the pipeline. So I'm gonna have to start again. So start that again. New pipeline from my GitHub YAML. Super useful to see this type of stuff. Glad it's useful. Thank you. I'm glad it's worth it. Yeah, so I kind of thought I would do this live on stream because everyone else seems to do it in the background. I haven't seen anyone else working on it. So, Xamarin Android. I'm gonna save this before I edit anything so I don't lose my work again. And then let's go back to, if I do a refresh there. Yeah, I set it up on a similar project just recently, so I thought I had it all kind of fresh in my head, but now that what I've done there wasn't right, I'm a bit at a loss for what to check next. And I think I'll probably come back to it tomorrow and it'll all just happen easy. I just created a new pipeline and hit save and it didn't create it. I'm wondering whether it will show up soon. I go new pipeline, GitHub YAML. From that repo, Xamarin Android. This one, I'll give it a better name, which I forgot to do on the iOS one. Azure Pipeline Android. I'll hit save. Commit directly to master. Good. Sure, I'll click run. Although I think it would have run automatically. Cool. Now when I go to my pipelines, good, I've got an Android one now, which I'll rename. Android. Hello, I'm on the television. Oh, thank you. Ooh, I just got coffee. So we've got our, I did a name for it there now, Android Melbourne Modern Apps, cool. Now, back into editing that YAML. And they were saying that the default was fine for the first few things. Perhaps even that build, let's just let it run as default and add in a signing. Android signing. Gonna sign the APK. Key store file. We just uploaded to our library. In our secure files. We call it meetup.keystore. Keystore. Keystore password. We go dollar brackets. And we called the variable. Can I rename that? It's not a very good name. Let's throw that in the bin and give it a better one. Key store password. Which I've still got somewhere. Maybe. Fuck it. And save that. Cool. Key store password. Key store password. Alias, we just said was meetup. I think. Password will be the same. Oh, what did I give it as an alias? Now I've got me worried. Yeah, just meetup. That's right. We'll always have the same as the file name, which is meetup.keystore. Now, APK sign location, that's fine. Zipper line, yes. Cool. I think that'll be right for our signing. We're going to set up a similar app sent distribute task, but first let's see if this runs. And the other thing we need to do, which means it will fail. Kim's back. No, we did not get the iOS building. We got very close. It's installing a certificate and a provisioning profile. We know that the identifiers match because we originally had that wrong. We know that we've got the password for the P12 right because otherwise it would have told us, but it's still saying no valid certificate. So I've got something wrong and I decided to move on because wasn't very exciting stream. Now I've moved on to doing Android, and I'll come back to the other one later. So once again, giving this pipeline access to my variables. Oink. That's done. Save. And we'll go back to our pipeline. I did accidentally make 2 Android pipelines. Before it wasn't showing up, and now we've got 2. Let's delete that one. It's deleted. If I do a refresh, still there. Hopefully it'll disappear. I know this one's going to fail, so I'm just going to cancel that straight away. Now that we've got that in, so we've now got access to our pipeline and our variables. I will run the pipeline again from master. Kim says, are you sure you got the case right in the bundle identifier? That killed me once. Yes, I am, because I copied and pasted directly. I wish that was the answer. Commit. Commit. The error message kind of looked like it was saying I had the wrong certificate in the provisioning profile compared to what I uploaded, but I uploaded that and it looked correct. Now we've got our Android build running. While it runs, we can set up our app in App Center for it. So we've got an organization called Melbourne Xamarin Blazor Meetup, which has our iOS app in it. We make a new app for Android. They'll call Melbourne Meetup App Droid. Android, Xamarin. And we're gonna want not sure whether we're gonna need to set up another service connection. I think you just need one service connection between App Center and Azure DevOps per project. So we should be able to reuse that. It's just gonna be the app slug we're after here. So doing an Android build. Let's go back to our YAML. Android, edit it. This keeps stressing me out whenever I go to different pages. DevOps is asking me, are you sure you want to leave? You haven't finished. I don't know what I haven't finished though. Oh, Android signing worked. Excellent. So that's all green so far. Next step is distribute. Android worked. App Center distribute. Already got the service connection. Our app slug is organization name / app name. Not sure if I said this before, but I definitely recommend in App Center always putting things in an organization, not as a personal thing, because ownership transfers get tricky and later on you will want it in an organization. Binary file path. I think I can just tell it find any APK. Oh no, let's say we've got output directory APK. Dollar bracket output directory any APK you find in there. And we'll call this Meetup app for Android. Distribute to the default group. My symbol type will be Android. Kim says, so what about doing builds and release through App Center? Pros, cons. In App Center, when things go right, they go right. And if you want to kind of do anything more advanced, or if you want to look into it a bit more as to what happened, I find that you kind of end up with a bit of a black box. Whereas DevOps gives you a lot more control. You get to control every step. The other thing is, because I've got a Blazor website and Azure Functions, I kind of wanted to keep all of my builds in one spot. And then just do the distribute through App Center. So given I am basically just doing a build here that is basically what App Center will do anyway, not much of a point. But if I want to make this more advanced in the future and get into kind of release pipelines and stuff like that, it hopefully will give me a lot. You can do all sorts of cool stuff. So I think that should sign. So we've got the signing working. Distribute should work. Let's do a save and let it do another run. That'll probably take its time. But while it builds, I'll just make sure. So that should send an email to me straight away with a download link. And I'll be able to open it up on Android. Now, in here, because after Android we've got one more DevOps task. Where's my repo? Trying to remember, did I add a functions app already to this? No, I didn't. I think the other thing you missed out on, Kim, while you were away is I seem to have broken my Git auth. I can't push to my own repo. Give it another try while that build attempts to run, which was over here. This one. Yeah. And I've got. So Kim also doesn't like it when his Git breaks. I've got provisioning profiles not working and Git not working all in one stream. What next? My internet seems to have done a pretty good job. Although I've dropped 6% of frames. Does that seem a bit high? Kim, you know your way around that. How many frames are you allowed to drop on a stream before you call your stream dead? I'm gonna chew your ear, Kim, on a... It's called a drop an occasional. 6% more than occasional. All seems to be working fine, I think. Just check your OBS window and check that sweet. Okay, you got a green light, you happy? Cool. Now, might have my Git going again, but I've now got a merge conflict because I fixed the problem twice. And it won't let me stash because I'm in the middle of a conflict apparently. Oh, I see a red light. App Center distribute succeeded. Cool. If I bring up my visor now, everyone can read my emails. Get a little floating picture of my cat. If I click install on that, sign in. Lock on W1. go. You want my email address now? I think you all did already. I'm in my App Center now, and because I've signed in with the App Center account that is not just a tester but the full-on admin account, I can see on the left here all my other organizations. But all I want to do now is download this app. Open file. Yes, I want to install an untrusted app. App not installed. Ah, was that just because I already had it installed on here? Removed the old one. Where did it go? Let's try download. Oh no, we've got our download still there. Oops, not the camera. I go to my file browser. Anything in recents? Let's try installing that again. Okay, looks like I've done something wrong with the signing of the Android as well. Cool. That's the next most fun thing. After iOS not working, Git not working, Android signing not working either. This is real development, people. Thank you, Kim. Yep, this is not a highly polished demo. Cool. So the next thing I want to add to my app, and I won't write much code on it yet, and I might not even be able to push the code, but I want Azure functions because I'm going to use them for my backend. And I reckon this one's going to deploy straight away, no worries. As long as I can get my source code up into the cloud, DevOps will be easy. That's what live coding's all about. Thank you, Kim. Function name, Melbourne Meetup functions. Version 3, an HTTP trigger. I'm going to make it anonymous for now, which means anyone can anyone can access this API point and rack up my Azure functions build. But later on, I am going to have to put some kind of auth on it. Melbourne Meetup functions. Oh, actually, the project name. I don't need to say Melbourne Meetup in there again. Function. Oh, yeah, that's right. You give it that function name. But then because I'm putting it in a project, in a solution that's already got other stuff, I'm going to keep the same naming for the project of Melbourne Modern Apps functions. Create. So this is the kind of file new functions. All you get, you can do a get or post, pass in a query parameter of name, and it will reply with hello, your name, or it'll say, this is an Azure function, please give me your name. So I'll start by running that. It's not a target there. Might need to, maybe we'll give it a build. Build successful. I'm just going to restart Visual Studio because it's not giving me the option to run it. I like the drum roll that's just come in, building suspense. I signed up for the Pretzel Rocks premium account. Pretzel Rocks is where the streaming come from and one of the most active chat users here. So now that I've gone premium, I should be able to have it so that it doesn't talk to my chat anymore, but I can't work out where to turn that off. Still working out all this Twitch stuff. And Kim, the other thing I want to ask you when I get a chance is help with setting up the chat overlays on the screen, because I'm going to be putting all these up on YouTube, so I think it'll be good to get that chat overlay like you do, but I can't make sense of it. Cool. So it's saying my function is now running at this address, just a local host so far. It's really nice we've got the terminal built into VS Mac now. Before this would launch a separate terminal, although it seems to only have been tested in dark mode, because that's not very readable. Let's give it a run. Cool, says that works, and if I say !name equals Lachlan. Hello, Lachlan. Cool. Let's see if we can push. Added Blazor functions project. Nope, my Git's still broken. Okay, if I try doing it in the terminal, Git push. Failed to push, updates were ejected because the branch is behind. Ah, that's alright. At least talked to the server. Let's still git pull. Bye, Rod. Thanks for dropping in. Alright. I've managed to pull that down. But I've got some conflicts, which we can resolve. I thought I stashed all that. Stash everything. Can't stash because there's a merge conflict. Unstage all. Stash. Remove that badly named YAML. Remove that YAML. Pull from master. Merge conflict. Okay, that's because I updated the bundle ID but then couldn't commit, so I did it somewhere else. Okay. Unstage all one more time. Stash what I can. Remove what I can't stash. This is the conflicty one. I'm going to reverse that commit. Reset would be nicer, but I've already done some real code that I do want to keep. Now, if I try to do a pull, smooth. What do you reckon? Is push going to work? Doubt it. Ooh, completed successfully. We're back online. Now we've got our functions code in the repo. we can set up another pipeline. More pipelines. GitHub YAML. Oh, Oreo's just come into the room. Oreo, say hello. Meow meow. So, same repo. Oh yeah. Netcore function app to Windows Azure. That's the pipeline for me. I wonder if it guessed that based on the most recent code. Azure function subscription, yes. Authorize, yes. Function app name. I haven't made a function yet. Got a few other functions up there. But I need to find my Azure portal window. This is where we set up the storage. So if I make a new resource here. A function app. Yep. Create. Once again, pay as you go. Resource group. Melbourne Xamarin Blazor meetup. Function app name will be melbournemeetup.azurewebsites.net is available. Runtime stack. Let's run it on .NET Core 3.1. I go Australia Southeast. Yeah. Code. Cool. 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 Create. And any second now we'll have a function app. My deployment's underway. Tick, tick, tick. Storage account. I got it using, I think it just made its own new storage account. Should have used the existing one that I made. But storage accounts are free. It's only what you put in them that costs money, so it doesn't really matter. I need to get that to refresh somehow. Loading subscriptions. Authorize again. Function app name is not in there. If I do that, can I set it later? We'll find out. Oh, Oreo ran away. Figuring my pipeline. Cool. There's a lot of code in here. Do I really need all that much? I suppose it's probably just going to work. Kinda looks like it hasn't. Okay, so we do a .NET Core CLI build. Then we do an archive. And then there's a deploy step. With a strategy. Glad I didn't have to write this by hand. There's an Azure subscription there. I think that's where it went wrong. I take a look. Wonder if I can go settings on this task. Azure subscription. There's a lot in there. Maybe this one? Authorize. Or maybe I should have gone with the one of the ones that was an existing service connection. Let's see how long it takes to authorize again. Cool. App type, function app name. Cool. Doesn't like that name. Maybe we throw those all in the bin and start again now that there's an existing resource. New pipeline. GitHub YAML. This one again. Functions. Pay as you go subscription. Yes, sign in. You know what? I think this is making it way too complicated. I'm going to start with an empty pipeline. I'm going to write it from scratch. Cool. Let's do Windows latest. Steps, yeah, you can keep the multi-line scripts. Let's do a .NET task, .NET Core, and a publish. I don't want to publish web projects. Path to my project. I'm going to go the full path, which is going to be Melbourne Modern Apps dot functions slash same thing again, Melbourne Modern Apps dot functions dot CSPROJ. I'll give it a build configuration, which we do with a variable. Feel a bit like putting this in a variable every time. Doesn't quite make sense because I seem to use it one time in each pipeline and declare it in each pipeline. But I think with a more complex pipeline, it does make sense to do it like this. Configuration will be $bracket build configuration. Yes, we'll zip it. Yes, we'll add the folder name to the publish path. Anything in there look important? No, I don't think so. Looks like it's got something a little wonky here. I need to move that task into the steps. So that's a .NET publish. And then I think there'll be a task in here called Azure function. Azure function app. This one. Subscription. Yeah, let's try one of them. App type. Jump on Windows. App name. Melbourne Meetup. Now we're having more luck. Not using any deployment slots yet. Package off folder. That's probably right. That's probably all fine by default. Add. Cool. Let's see if it runs. Creating the pipeline. Straight to master. This should be a super quick build. Could also check out my Git. Run a couple of scripts that were just echoing. .NET build failed. Project files matching specified pattern were not found. I spelt something wrong. And while we're here, let's give that a better name, or they'll all end up the same. Functions. Take a, I know, previous page up the top is where we click edit. I said it was going to be in Melbourne Modern Apps.functions / Melbourne Modern Apps.functions.cs proj. I open up my Visual Studio again. Melbourne. I spelt modern wrong over there. There we go, Kim and Rod. We've got. Oh, Rod's gone, isn't he? Kim, we've got a new name. We're now Melbourne Modern Apps. Is that alright with you? I've got to rename this pipeline at some point. Azure Pipelines 2 is no good. Modown? Motown? Modoon. Got 2 pipelines just started running. The Android one must have its triggers wrong. Let's fix that now. Take the easy fixes when we can find them. Trigger is not going to be master. We're going to say branches. Some IntelliSense helping us out. Let's say release / droid star. Save that, which will probably trigger off a functions build, but not an Android build. Functions was already building. .NET build, 40 seconds in. Shouldn't be that hard to build a functions project. Only 10 lines of code. 30 seconds of that has been NuGet restores. Build successful. Deploying to Azure. Ten seconds in. What do you reckon? Is this going to work? The next step, once this succeeds, is we'll go into the Azure portal, take a look at what it's created for us. Tick, tick, tick. Yay. All right, let's go to the resource. You can see in here we've got our functions. We're back currently in read-only mode, that's fine. Here we've got our functions. We've got the option to run it. I'm going to zoom that down a bit. I can't see what's going on. Oh, Azure portal goes all wonky if you zoom it. Let's just take that URL, run it in a browser. So Melbourne Modern Apps, blah blah, API Melbourne Meetup Functions. That runs, and if we give it a name, It works. Excellent. Zilla Functions has been the smoothest to deploy so far, although the WebAssembly one wasn't too bad either. Cool. I'd say 2 out of 4 deployment successes ain't half bad. What have we got left out? That one's running again for some reason. Okay, let's change what triggers it. Okay, done, failed. Mostly done, but can't run. Functions. Edit. Ah, that's right. Let's set up some more of these. Branches. Include release / functions. Save. Straight to master, and that shouldn't kick off any builds now, which will make me happy. Wonder what the easiest way to rename that YAML file is. Can I do it in here, or do I do that just out in Git? Edit. Click on that link. Takes me to GitHub. Yeah, that name will do. Alright, I'm gonna write some code. Spent enough time in here. I think I've got all the DevOps bits done that I wanted, except for the bits that didn't work. Next thing I want to do is get some DI in here. So rather than what I've done at the moment in my presenter data store, I've just got a static list, which was kind of okay for some early mocking out of UI. But once I start connecting it to a proper database and stuff, we're going to need a bit more control. So in our WASM, in our program CS, we've already got DI set up, but we're going to need to set up, or the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to use the same dependency injection engine that we use in that comes by default in .NET Core, and put that in my Xamarin Forms as well. If I go manage NuGet packages, and I find, there we go, that one. And, oops, lost it. I go, latest stable's probably, or, and I think the other one will have 312 in it. So I'll go only one short of latest stable. So we're now going to want to use that. Should already be in our Blazor WASM. We're also going to be able to want to access it in our core and in our Forms app. It's a contentious issue about whether you should or shouldn't have DI in a mobile app. Xamarin Forms has a fairly basic dependency service in there. If you're using something like Prism, it comes with dry IOC built in. Could not add package. But I believe Xamarin Forms team are about to add this dependency injection into Xamarin Forms. They announced that at the recent .NET Conf focus on Xamarin, and there's a video of Mikkel Deyakar's reaction. He is not keen on it, apparently. Let's see if we've got probably components.webassembly. Oh, we've got 3.13 in this one. Cool. Let's try that again. Dependency injection. Latest stable. Maybe I'll just put it in core and forms. And then if that works, do a consolidate check. Installing nougats. I wonder if that's going to break my streaming bandwidth. Still got a green light. Manage NuGet packages. If I see anything in consolidate, I've done something wrong. Nope, good. Oops, doesn't go there. Now, I'm gonna go into my forms project. My app XAML CS is where I'll do my startup. I think it makes sense to start it here because everything I'm planning on doing with it so far is going to be shared across mobile or in web or in functions, but nothing shared higher up than that. So I could run it in core, but I think quite often I'll have different services depending on whether it's web or mobile. But I don't think I'm going to need any services different between Android and iOS. Whoops. And I'm going to do it right after my... Okay, so they're using dependency service in here. That's not what we want. I'm going to make a new service collection. Our service equals... Services equals new service collection. Good, it's found the using. I'm going to go services dot add. I'm going to go a singleton. And our presenter data store is an I data store of presenters. And we can register that. With another using. Then, so that's the first one we'll need. Might need a couple more things later, although I don't think I've created anything. I think maybe we'll write a navigation service at some point, and as we get more models and kind of a database connection, there'll be more, but that'll be the only service we need to start with. Now, I think there's one more step. Do I need to say build or something like that? I'm going to need to make this container accessible to somehow. And I'm just going to do that. There's got to be kind of one static point somewhere along the way so that you can find it. And in Blazor, that's set up for you. But if I want to be able to get it from everywhere, I think I need to put it somewhere in my core project. I'm going to make a class called a container, just so that I can get a reference to my service collection from anywhere. What kind of class was it again? Service collection. I'm going to make this constructor private. And I'll put a singleton in it. Public, static, container. Get, oh no, get public static container current. getter only is going to be a new container. And there's going to be a service collection called services. Also with a that get set. Yeah, a using and then we can say now we have to build this service collection. So we've added everything we need. Now we need a service provider. Which is going to be made from services.build service provider. And I'll say yes, validate the scopes. Make sure that we get a build time, a startup time error as to whether our services all make sense rather than waiting until it actually gets to the error. And then we're going to need a scope, which is going to be service provider dot create scope. And then that means our service provider is ready to use. So we can say container dot current dot services equals service provider. Have I got all my types right? Nope, done something wrong. So if we look in that container, that was a service collection, but I think maybe that was meant to be a service provider. Service provider. All my red squiggles go away. Let's see if it compiles with a build first. What's your stance on what level of DI you should have in a Xamarin Forms app? Anyone here doing that sort of stuff? Anyone from the chat room like their DI? Cool. That compiles. But we're not using it anyway yet. So if we go to our Kim doesn't like DI. It used to be the same, but since getting into Blazor, given that they kind of bake it in for you and encourage you, kind of getting more into it. And especially the more I get into more platforms, it makes a bit of sense. So in my view models, in my presenters view model, here we say, where do I get my data store from? I got that in the base view model. So I'm just saying new mock data store there as my data store for presenters. If I look at my presenter data store, it's actually called a mock data store. I might rename that at some point, but we know what it is. So in my app XAML CS, I didn't say, given the implementation, mock data store. Cool, that's registered. Now, I don't really want my base view model being able to get to that because only some pages need it. In my presenters view model, I'm going to say data store. I'm going to say container dot current dot services dot get required service, which is an extension method in that namespace of type data store presenter. Done something wrong? Not allowed to put that in an initializer. What's my error? Cannot be used like a method. I'm missing one angle bracket. So with our DI set up, there's a few different ways I can get to it. The kind of purest way, and probably the best way to do it really, is to do it with constructor injection. So something like this, an iData store of presenter data store. And then go data store equals data store. Problem here is we can only get it through constructor injection if our view model was created by the DI. So it's a bit of a turtles all the way down problem. And the other way of doing it is here. I just did it with a getter. What that does there is every time I ask for a data store, it's going to ask the DI service to get it for me again, which seems excessive. I know, but the app isn't guaranteed to know. But I know that that's been set up as a singleton, so it won't be creating a new one every time. But that still doesn't feel right. So I'm just going to get it once. At least for now. I'm going to resolve it, not through constructor injection, but through locating the service, but just once in a constructor. Like this, so kind of halfway between those. What? So that I make sure I only get one. So that'll resolve, and then anywhere I try to call it will work. Let's run it. 3 errors. That's alright, knew there'd be some. Name data store does not exist because the presenter detail view model also needs a reference. Which is why it was in the what do you call it? The base model before. Because it was used in 2 of the view models, but 2 isn't all. So we set that there and we resolve it in the constructor. Build. iService required does, that's just another using directive. Let's run. What? More error. What do we got? Presenters page is not, I messed up my constructor. So as I go deeper in, I might make it so that rather than a page creating an items view model, we can ask the dependency service for a view model instead. Yeah, it's building. It's got this far. Sounds like there are no errors. Should be opening up on an iPhone simulator. Cool. It's there, but also it might have already been there. I'm not sure if that actually ran or if it's just a coincidence. Trust no one. Music we've got going at the moment is a little bit X-Files. Cool, that works. Nothing's changed. That save. Ah, please enter a description. We've got some validation. Maybe I should make that white. Cool. We've got another presenter there now. I was thinking, well, yes, Stranger Things. You're right. There are a few songs that you come across on Pretzel that sound very similar to some other songs. But hey, that happens everywhere. I'm sure I've made some songs that sound similar to other things. Okay. That's DI there. In our Blazor, it's half set up for us. We go to our program CS. So it's already got the root component, well, the HTTP client in the services. So here, the service collection, instead of me newing it up, has been provided as part of the .NET Core build. What was it? The builder, which just comes in as part of the WebAssembly host builder. And each different kind of flavor of .NET Core, you'll get a slightly different version of that. So now we're going to add another singleton. We're going to say an data store of type presenter. Is our interface, and our implementation is currently mock data store, which will turn into a view model kind of one. So we've added that singleton. The view models are shared, so that should be all we need to do here. Let's give it a run. For Blazor, we go cd modern apps dot blazorwasm .NET run. We go to our local host. An unhandled error has occurred. We've done something wrong. Console. WebAssembly render. Unhandled exception rendering components. Target invocation exception. Value cannot be null. Any file numbers there that are telling us anything? Create instance doesn't work. Hoping to see a line number in there that's my code instead of a library code, so I know what to debug. Nothing. Parameter name provider. That might be something to go off. We've got something called a provider that's got a null reference. create instance default constructor. I know what it is. This service connect collection that we built, we didn't put it in the container, so the container service collection is null when we try to access it. So if we'd gone proper DI all the way through and let it create everything for us, we would have been fine. We just got extra step. So at the moment we've got the build and the run async as one step. So I'm going to split that out. So if I say var host equals builder.build, I think a build returns a host. A WebAssembly host, yes, good. And then I'm going to say container.current.services, yep, equals my host.services. And then I've already built it once, so I can just say, is build, run async is the async task. Then I say host.run async. Cool. Try again. Make sure to save all. That's compiled. Give it a refresh with a bit less console. Everything's worked. Oh, nothing at this address. Not everything has worked. So this page has done it. Load presenters. When I click on Kim, done something wrong. So our URL there is presenters/details. When I ran at the start of the day, I think that was working. So it's something we've just broken now. Do we have... Wouldn't feel like a long URL. No, it's not gonna help me. Alright, sorry, there's nothing at this address. Is that a string that I've got in my code somewhere? Like an error URL or something? In my app.razor, I say if there's a 404, we say sorry, there's nothing at this address. Cool. That's good to know that if I want to write kind of my custom 404, that's where I do it. I tried to say presenters/detail/ID. In my presenter detail page, not XAML, no, my forms, .blazor. Presenters. Where's my page gone? Go to presenters.razor. Looking at my code changes, I've added a container. Messed with a couple of things, but I haven't deleted a page. Looks like the only pages I've got are a counter, an index, and a presenters. If I look in the Finder, I've got presenter detail page as well. In my CS proj, no, not the XAML, not the XAML. If I go edit project file, it says I deleted that. I don't remember doing that. Save that. It'll reload my project. if I run that again. That's compiled. Good. I hit refresh this time. Cool. So it didn't find the ID because that ID was generated on build because we're still not using a real database, but it found the file this time. That's good. Here, this time when I click on Kim, there's our lovely Kim. Good. That's fixed. That was a very strange thing to have happen. Oh. Let's pull down latest master before we commit that. So what code have we changed? CS proj. So we added DI NuGet. Performs. Set up DI for our data store. VMs now load using DI. And I don't think we broke anything. Cool. Commit that. Straight to master. And I've lost my Git authentication again. What happens if I do a pull here? Git pull. Already up to date. Git push. Works fine at the terminal. Now, because it's a public repo, even when I lose auth in source tree, I can still pull down. Alrighty. I think that's about all we wanted to get through today, other than our failing Devops. But I'm going to look at that offline, and I'll update you next week with what went wrong there. Any questions from anyone? Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks a lot for coming along. Let's see if there's anyone we can raid. Anyone know anyone who's streaming at the moment who they like to raid? Oh, Toronto Mobile. Dev meetup or online. Let's raid them. Thanks. So if I just type /raid and type in Toronto Mobile. Oh, I wonder if it's case sensitive. So Toronto Mobile Developer, similar meetup to our Melbourne meetup. And they've just started doing live coding, I think about once a week, along with their regular meetup. So we're gonna go over there, give them a raid. Thanks a lot for coming along. Dan and Kim and Rod and Tassereg, and I think there were a couple of other people as well. Thanks a lot for coming. I'll see you same time next week. Go say hello to Toronto team. Three viewers ready to raid. Raid now. Here we go.
Lachlan, hey. Thanks for the raid. Welcome everybody. We're working on some prism changes. Just miss Brian. Kim. Lachlan. How are ya? Hi Dan. I have been pairing with Brian Lagunas, one of the contributors or one of the maintainers of Prism, and we've been working on making some changes for tab navigation. And I'm just wrapping it up. So we just found out that our unit tests are failing because we tried to shortcut the implementation and weren't awaiting our code through our whole call stack. So we're in the, if you're not familiar with Prism, it is a MVVM framework for Xamarin Forms.